Welcome back to Sugar Cookies. Our dough was made yesterday, or it might have been made the day before, depending on your class, and it's been in the refrigerator, so it's gotten much firmer, which will make it easy to roll out. Alright, so to do this, we're going to take a small amount of flour and dust our work surface. Now, a common mistake that students make is they put a mountain of flour here, like this, to roll out their cookie dough. Well, that dries out the cookie dough, and then the cookies break frequently. So you do not need mountains of flour. We simply need a dusting. Okay. Now I'm going to take this out. All right. Now you don't need to roll out this much dough at once. You can, but it's actually a little too much to manage. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, just so it's more manageable. And I'll move that dough off. Now in class, my job as the student might be to roll out the dough. Another student may be coming around and picking up the cookies and placing them on the baking sheet. So depending on your role, you may just be sitting here rolling out dough, and the minute you're cutting them, somebody's coming around and picking them up. So I'm getting that floured on each side. And then I have my rolling pin, and you can also get some flour in your hand and kind of roll that, flour the rolling pin. And you start rolling. Now, it's best to not go off the edge. If you start in the center and go to the edge, you're not going to get it where it's much thinner on the edges than it is on the middle. Now, a trick I saw on TV was, in order to get your cookies the same thickness, you use dowel rods. And I have not been able to find culinary safe dowel rods, but we did find a pencil, and we put it in a Ziploc so that we're not getting all the germs on the food. And you put that along your cookie dough, and now you're going to roll down until you're on top of these pencils. And it won't allow you to go any thinner because the pencil is stopping the cookie or the rolling pin. So we are going to continue to look for culinary dowel rods so that we can get some real long ones. But this will help your dough all be the exact same thickness. Okay. It's impossible to get the dough too thin if you're on top of these pencils. Okay? So there, our dough's about a quarter inch thick, which is what we are going to go with, and we are making butterflies today. Okay? So you may need to flour the butterfly or the cookie cutter, and you want to cut out as many as you can out of the piece of dough that you have. It's starting to stick just a little bit. And then you get your baking pan, which is lined with parchment paper. Now you might find it easier to get a dough cutter to pick up your cookies. Sometimes they stick just a little bit. Now, you need to leave some space behind them because they will rise a little bit. If you recall, this recipe had baking powder in it, which is our leavening agent. And this one got a little bit deformed, which I'm kind of glad it did. So I'm just going to go ahead and really deform it. If it gets bad or it breaks, it just goes back into the pile of dough to get re-rolled. So I'm going to continue rolling out the dough, and then after it's been rolled, these are going to go in a 350-degree oven, and they take about 9 minutes. It depends how hot the oven is when they get put in. So we're going to set our timer for about 8 and then take a look at them. So I'll see you when they come out again. Our sugar cookies have come out of the oven, and they are getting brown on the edges, and they're a nice golden brown on top. We might have been able to take these out maybe a minute earlier so they didn't get quite so brown. It depends on what shelf in the oven they are. Some shelves are closer to that fan, and those will brown up quicker than the others will. As you see, there's a difference between these two right here. All right? But these are all perfectly good and saleable cookies. So the next step is to get the chocolate ready for decorating. And typically you want to put the chocolate on when the cookies are cool. So the way we melt the chocolate is right here. And this is a makeshift double boiler. We typically boil large amounts of chocolate, And most double boilers you buy in the store are very small. So we can get a larger saucepan with a great big bowl and melt 5 or 10 pounds of chocolate at once. But for the purpose of this demo, we don't need that much chocolate. So I just got some chocolate. And in here you can see it's all melted. But there's a small problem with this chocolate, and that it's very thick. So there are two ways to thin down chocolate. One, you can buy Culinary wax. It's paraffin wax, but it's for use in culinary. And you can put wax in there and stir that in. Now some students get all freaked out that they're eating wax. But if any of you have been to Dairy Queen or to McDonald's and gotten a chocolate dip cone, they put that ice cream cone down into this thin chocolate, pull it up, and bam, it's set. That's because that chocolate has large amounts of paraffin and it dries instantly on that cold ice cream. All right? But we're not going to use paraffin, we're going to use shortening. Shortening is the other way to thin down chocolate. You may never add water. Water will cause your chocolate to seize up, it'll get all clumpy, and it's done, it's ruined, and you need to throw it away. All right, so we're going to get some shortening here. Toss this in. We're going to start with smaller amounts, and this will melt very quickly in here. And you can keep adding it until, and you can see already it's getting thinner. It's actually pouring off the spatula. I'm going to give it just a little bit more, and then we will go from there. And I will stir this in. Now for Javaccino, a lot of times we are using multiple colors and we are using holiday colors. Usually our first Javaccino is a blue and gold Javaccino for lighted. And we usually cut out stars for that, not butterflies. And we will decorate the cookies with blue and gold chocolate. And then our ribbons on our bags would be blue and gold to follow the whole lighten theme. Of course, at Christmas, we're doing red and green. Valentine's would be red and pink and white. St. Pat's would be green, maybe green and white. So we try to stay with the holidays. So if we look at this, it's nice and smooth, and it pours right off our rubber scraper. All right, so we are at a very good place here. Now, to pour this into our squirt bottle, the bowl does not have a spout, so you could hold the bowl up and try and pray and hope that it makes it into the bottle, or you can just transfer this chocolate to a glass measuring cup, which has a spout. And that will make pouring a much more successful process for you, and you will not get chocolate all over the place. Of course, those are famous last words. We'll see how I do it. Okay? So the spout makes it much easier to pour. And we don't want to waste any chocolate. Chocolate is one of our most expensive ingredients. And we spend a lot of money on chocolate every year. If you think about a bakery, you know, bakeries go through an immense amount of chocolate. Okay? All right. And of course, there we go. So, depending on your cookie, you may follow different patterns for decorating. A lot of times it's just a quick diagonal over the pan. So you want to get some chocolate in the bottom. And again, you can ask your teacher. You may follow different patterns. You may want to do the star in a star pattern. Typically we do a lot of diagonal. So you just start here, and it looks like my tip is clogged already, so that's not off to a good start. So I'm going to go back and get another lid. Okay, when that happens, when you're making your or decorating your cookies and the tip gets clogged, you can go run some hot water through it. Sometimes there's very small amounts of chocolate that were not completely melted that clog up your tube. Okay, so we'll try this again. So you can just go across. It's okay if some gets on the counter. And remember, less is more. Now in Javaccino, if these were for spring, we might be doing a light blue and a light green over these as well. So you do not want to completely cover the cookies with chocolate unless you're only using one color. And again, in our cookies, the only time we completely cover the cookies, if we're doing that, we will dip them. We will not use a squirt bottle to completely cover the cookies. All right? Now, once these have set, now if you're in a hurry, You could put these in the refrigerator to force them to set in about 5 minutes. If you've got time, you can put them back into the baking rack and let them set at room temperature. Okay, once they are set, and I cannot demonstrate this right now because this chocolate is still wet, you will have cellophane bags. And the cellophane bags that we put the cookies in are about this wide and much taller, but we do not have any left. We used them all at our last Javaccino. And you will put most of our cookies are this size. So each customer gets 2 cookies. If we're making really large ones, they would only get 1, but you would put 2 cookies back to back into the bag. That way, no matter which way they turn the bag, they're seeing the front of the cookie. And then with a partner, one partner holds the top of the bag like this, and this is holding 2 cookies, and the other partner would take 2 rivets, which are generally 2 different colors, like they could be pink and white, pink and blue, pink and red, depending on the holiday, and they tie a double knot nice and tight around here. And the reason we tie a double knot is we don't want them accidentally coming open when they're in the serving bowl or customers grab them, and we also want to keep the cookies airtight to preserve their freshness. All right, enjoy.